The crystal chandelier in the penthouse lobby threw rainbow reflections across the marble floor as I stepped through the revolving doors of the Aurora, Manhattan's most prestigious residential tower. The security guard straightened his posture, no doubt noting my less-than-elite appearance. Simple black pants, a white button-down shirt, and comfortable flats. Not the usual designer-clad clientele this building typically attracted. "I'm here to see Marcus Evans," I said, approaching the desk. "About the penthouse viewing." The guard's eyes flicked to my unbranded handbag before he picked up his phone. "Name? Olivia Bennett." I watched him try to hide his skepticism as he made the call. My brother-in-law's voice carried clearly through the phone's speaker. "Send her up. This should be entertaining." The guard directed me to a private elevator, and I ascended to the 85th floor, where Marcus Evans' real estate occupied half the level. The other half, the actual penthouse apartment, was what I was officially here to see. Marcus's secretary gave me the same dismissive once-over I'd received downstairs before waving me toward his office. "Mr. Evans is expecting you." I found my brother-in-law lounging behind his massive desk, feet propped up, examining his manicured nails. He didn't bother standing when I entered. "Well, well," he smirked. "If it isn't my dear sister-in-law. Come to window shop." I sat in one of his visitor chairs without waiting for an invitation. "I'm interested in the penthouse." Marcus laughed, the sound echoing off his floor-to-ceiling windows. "Olivia, let's not waste each other's time. This penthouse is for elite tenants only. We're talking CEOs, celebrities, people who actually matter." He leaned forward, dropping his feet to the floor. "Not small-time entrepreneurs who work out of their garage." If he only knew that my garage was actually the top 3 floors of a converted warehouse in Brooklyn, housing one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country. But Marcus, like the rest of my husband's family, had never bothered to actually visit my business. They were too busy looking down their noses at the black sheep who'd married into their precious family. "I'd like to see it anyway," I said calmly. He sighed dramatically. "Fine. But the monthly rent is $200,000. The security deposit is 6 months' rent up front. And that's if you even pass our rigorous tenant screening process, which," he looked me up and down, "seems unlikely." I kept my face neutral, though inside I was smiling. Marcus had no idea that I'd already passed every screening. In fact, I'd passed them 6 months ago when I'd purchased the entire building through one of my holding companies. "Shall we?" I gestured to the door. Marcus stood with exaggerated patience. "Your funeral." He grabbed a set of keys from his desk. "Try not to touch anything. Some of the fixtures probably cost more than you make in a year." If he only knew that I could buy and sell his entire real estate company with what I made in a month. But that revelation would come soon enough. As we crossed to the penthouse entrance, his phone rang. He glanced at it, frowning. "My boss. Give me a moment." He put the phone to his ear. "Mr. Richardson, what can I?" I watched his face as he listened, enjoying the way his complexion shifted from confident pink to sickly pale. "Sir, there must be some mistake," he stammered. "The building was just sold." "But how, who?" Mr. Richardson's voice came through clearly. "Marcus, I'd like you to meet your new landlord." I raised my hand in a small wave as Marcus's keys clattered to the floor. "No," he whispered, phone slipping from his fingers. "That's impossible." "Actually," I smiled, reaching down to pick up his keys. "It's quite possible. Shall I show myself around my new penthouse? Or would you like to give me the tour?" Marcus fell back against the wall, his designer suit wrinkling. You own the Aurora?" "The whole building." "Through Bennett Enterprises, yes. Along with about 30 other premium properties across Manhattan." I turned the keys over in my hand. "Though this one is special. I've been planning to make it our new corporate headquarters." "Bennett Enterprises?" His voice cracked. "That little startup you were working on in your garage?" I pulled out my phone, pulled up the Forbes article from last month. Bennett Enterprises revolutionizes real estate tech. How one woman built a $4.2 billion empire. "Not so little anymore," I said, watching him scan the article, his hands shaking. "In fact, we just acquired your parent company, Richardson Properties. That's why Mr. Richardson was calling, to inform you of the change in management." Marcus slid down the wall until he was sitting on the imported marble floor. "All this time, at family dinners, holiday parties, you let us think that I was a failure?" "Yes, I did. I wanted to see how my husband's family would treat someone they thought was beneath them." I walked to the penthouse windows, admiring the view of Central Park. "I learned a lot about all of you in the process." "Jessica," He referred to my husband's sister, his wife. She's going to be very interested to learn that the apartment she's been bragging about, the one she told me I could never dream of affording, I own it now, along with the building it's in. I turned back to him. In fact, I own quite a few of the buildings your clients live in. Would you like to see the list? The color had completely drained from his face. Please, he whispered. We can work something out. I have contacts, connections. Had contacts, I corrected. Had connections. As of this morning, you've been relieved of your position. Mr. Richardson was supposed to inform you, but it seems he got distracted by the news of the acquisition. You're firing me? The word is terminating. And yes, your replacement starts Monday. I walked to his desk, picked up the family photo he kept there, him and Jessica at some charity gala, both sneering at the camera with practiced superiority. You should start packing. Security will be here in an hour to escort you out. But where will we go? This office, our apartment in the building. Not my problem. I set the photo down. Though I hear there are some lovely places in New Jersey. More your price range now. His phone buzzed again, Jessica calling. No doubt she'd just heard the news about Richardson Properties. I smiled, imagining her reaction to learning that her despised sister-in-law now owned her home. You should answer that, I suggested. Your wife probably has questions about why her key card stopped working in the private elevator. Marcus fumbled with his phone, but his hands were shaking too badly to answer it. How long? He managed. How long have you been planning this? Remember last Christmas? When you and Jessica seated me at the children's table because, and I quote, success is levels and you're just not at ours. I walked to his office door. I bought Richardson Properties the next day. The Aurora last month. Consider it a delayed Christmas present. The family will never forgive this, he threatened weakly. You mean the family that's been treating me like dirt for 5 years? The one that never bothered to visit my company, learn about my work, or even treat me with basic respect. I paused at the door. I think I'll survive without their forgiveness. Security arrived right on schedule, 2 large men in dark suits. Ms. Bennett, we're ready to escort Mr. Evans out. Perfect timing. I handed them Marcus's keys. Please make sure he doesn't take anything that isn't personally his. And have his office cleared for the new tenant by morning. New tenant. Marcus stood shakily. Who? Me. I smiled. I think it's time Bennett Enterprises had a Manhattan office, don't you? The view is perfect for our new tech division. As security let him out, Marcus turned back one last time. Olivia, please. We're family. No, Marcus. We're landlord and evicted tenant. Family would have treated me with respect. I watched through the windows as Marcus was escorted through the lobby, his perfect suit wrinkled, his carefully styled hair a mess. The same guard who had judged me earlier now held the door for me as I exited. Will you be making any changes to the building, Ms. Bennett? He asked respectfully. Just one. I pointed to the plaque bearing the building's name. The Aurora is a bit pretentious, don't you think? I'm thinking of renaming it Bennett Tower. My phone buzzed, a text from my husband. Just heard what happened. Are you okay? I smiled, typing back. Perfect. Your sister might need a place to stay, though. Shame about her apartment. Michael's response came quickly. You're terrible. I love you. I looked up at my new building, my new headquarters, and thought about all the family dinners where I'd been belittled, all the holiday parties where I'd been seated away from the successful people, all the times Marcus and Jessica had flaunted their wealth and status. Send a memo to all tenants, I told my assistant through my phone. Rent's going up 15% next month. Except for the Evans apartment. Theirs is being converted to a community recreation room. Sometimes success isn't about proving people wrong. Sometimes it's about watching them realize just how wrong they've been all along. And sometimes, the best revenge is served in a penthouse with a view. 2 weeks later, I sat in my new office, formerly Marcus's, reviewing the changes we'd made to the Aurora. The pretentious gold leaf wallpaper had been replaced with sleek glass panels. The dated crown molding was gone, making way for modern LED lighting. And Marcus's prized collection of hunting trophies had been donated to a natural history museum, much to his vocal distress. Ms. Bennett. My assistant Emma knocked on the door. The quarterly family brunch invitation just arrived. I took the thick cream envelope, noting the elaborate calligraphy. The Evans family tradition, a quarterly gathering where everyone showed off their latest achievements, acquisitions, and status symbols. I'd been relegated to the role of silent observer at these events for 5 years, enduring subtle jabs and not-so-subtle reminders of my supposed inadequacy. "Will you be attending?" Emma asked, knowing the history. "Oh, yes." I smiled, breaking the wax seal. I wouldn't miss this one. The invitation was typical Evans family ostentation. Heavy paper, gold foil, probably cost more than what they thought I made in a week. The event would be held at the Evans family estate, hosted by my father-in-law, Theodore Evans III, who'd never quite forgiven his son Michael for marrying beneath the family's station. My phone buzzed. Jessica calling for the 4th time today. I'd been letting her stew since the eviction notice arrived at her penthouse apartment. She and Marcus had a week to vacate, and judging by her increasingly desperate messages, they were having trouble finding suitable accommodation. I finally decided to answer. "Hello, Jessica. How dare you?" She launched straight into attack mode. "Do you have any idea who we are? Who our family is?" "Actually," I leaned back in my chair, enjoying the view of Central Park. "I know exactly who you are. You're my tenants. Soon to be my ex-tenants. This is ridiculous. Marcus has been managing that building for years. We live there. You can't just. I can and I am. But hey, I heard there are some lovely apartments available in Queens. Much more your price range now that Marcus is unemployed." She made a sound somewhere between a gasp and a shriek. "When father hears about this." "Oh, you mean Theodore?" "We had a fascinating conversation this morning. About Richardson Properties, the Aurora, and several other buildings his company was trying to acquire. Turns out, Bennett Enterprises already owns them." Silence on the line. Then, in a much smaller voice. "What do you mean?" "I mean your father just discovered that the daughter-in-law he's been snubbing at family events owns half the premium real estate in Manhattan, including the building where his company headquarters is located." I examined my nails, remembering how Marcus had done the same while dismissing me. He seemed quite interested in renegotiating their lease. But you're nobody. You work out of a garage. That garage is a tech hub that revolutionized real estate software. The same software your father's company now has to pay me to use." I smiled, though she couldn't see it. "How does it feel, Jessica? Learning that the woman you've been looking down on actually owns the roof over your head." "I'm calling Michael," she threatened. "He won't let you do this to his family. My husband, he's in a meeting right now, in our Manhattan office. You know, the one that used to be Marcus's? He sends his love, by the way. Said to tell you the guest room in New Jersey is always open." The line went dead. I checked my watch. 20 minutes until the realtor arrived to show Marcus's old office to our new tech team. I'd kept his pretentious mahogany desk, though. It made a nice surface for displaying my Forbes 40 Under 40 award. Emma appeared in the doorway again. "Mrs. Evans, Jessica, is in the lobby. She's demanding to speak with you." "Is she?" I pulled up the security feed on my laptop. There was Jessica, designer handbag clutched like a shield, perfect makeup slightly smudged from tears. "Let her wait. I have some calls to make." I spent the next hour on video conferences with my actual business. Bennett Enterprises had grown from that garage startup into a tech giant that was revolutionizing how real estate transactions were handled. Our software platform had made paper contracts obsolete, our blockchain technology had transformed property records, and our AI systems could predict market trends with unprecedented accuracy. All while the Evans family thought I was playing at business. Finally, I decided to put Jessica out of her misery. "Send her in," I told Emma. Jessica burst through the door like a perfectly styled hurricane, then stopped short at the sight of her brother's office. What have you done to Marcus's office?" "My office," I corrected. "And I've brought it into the current century. The taxidermied animals were a bit nouveau riche, don't you think?" She sank into a visitor chair, her Hermes bag sliding to the floor. "How long?" she whispered. "How long have you been planning this? Remember that dinner party last spring? When you seated me in the kitchen with the catering staff because, as you put it, some people are just meant to serve others." I saw her flinch at the memory. "I bought Richardson Properties the next day. Funny how karma works. But your company, it's just a small tech startup. Everyone knows that." "Everyone assumed that," I corrected, "because it was easier than actually looking into what I was building. Did you know Bennett Enterprises is now valued at $4.2 billion? That we have offices in 12 countries? That your father's company can't function without our software?" She stared at me, mascara starting to run. "Why didn't you tell us?" "Tell you?" I laughed. "Why would I? You and Marcus and the rest of the family made it very clear what you thought of me. The The scholarship student who dared to marry into the mighty Evans dynasty. The entrepreneur who couldn't possibly understand your world of old money and older prejudices. We didn't mean. Yes, you did. Every snub, every dismissal, every time you seated me away from the important people at family events. You meant all of it. I stood walking to the window. And now you get to live with the consequences. Please, she whispered. Marcus and I, we have nowhere to go. No one will rent to us now that he's been fired. Fired for cause, I corrected. After an audit revealed some very creative accounting with tenant deposits. The SEC is quite interested in his bookkeeping. Her face went pale. The SEC? Oh yes. Did Marcus not mention that part? Seems he was treating the building's accounts as his personal piggy bank. Not very elite behavior, wouldn't you say? Jessica's designer bag fell completely forgotten as she slumped in her chair. What do you want? Money. Position. We can. I have money. I cut her off. More than your entire family combined, actually. And position. I gestured to the view of Manhattan spread out below. I own half the buildings you can see from this window. What I want is for you and your family to understand exactly who you've been treating like dirt for the past 5 years. Her phone buzzed, a text from Theodore Evans III himself. I could guess what it said. My father-in-law had just left a very enlightening meeting with his board of directors, where they'd learned that Bennett Enterprises now owned controlling interest in their company. Daddy will fix this, Jessica muttered, reaching for her phone. He always fixes everything. Check the news, I suggested. She pulled up the Wall Street Journal on her phone, and I watched her face crumble as she read the headline. Tech giant Bennett Enterprises acquires controlling stake in Evans' real estate empire. No, she whispered. This can't be happening. It already has. I sat back down behind Marcus's old desk. Now, about that eviction notice. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.